Welcome to the Maverick Paradox podcast, where we explore what it is to be a maverick and discover effective modes of leadership. I am Judith Germain, and my mission is to propel the maverick mindset into a world where character and integrity will ultimately have a higher premium than personality and bureaucracy. So thank you for joining me on this journey, and if you would like to continue with me, then please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or one of the other popular podcast platforms. But today we depart from our usual conversation with format to allow me to talk about the Maverick Paradox evolution. But first, I think it's probably worthwhile explaining some of the terminology that you may have already heard on this podcast. So here goes. If someone is maverick, it means that they are willfully independent. This means they know what they want and are determined to get it. However, being maverick means more than just being determined. There's a whole strategy, capability, mindset, personality, and even the ability to utilise power going on. Read my book, The Maverick Paradox, The Secret Power Behind Successful Leaders, or continue to listen to the podcast episodes to find out more about this. An extreme maverick will get what they want through manipulation and competition, and a socialised maverick will get what they want through influence and cooperation. Once again, there is more detail in my book and in these podcast episodes. And now, the Maverick Paradox and evolution. You've been asking, so now I'm telling. This is the Whistle Stop Tour. So ever since I began working, I have been drawn towards solving impossible challenges and working with impossible people. The act of having to solve a problem that no one else could accurately define or fix adequately was always an immense driver for me. I was inexplicably drawn to the novel, the difficult, and the not being done before. By the time I was 24, I was in senior management, in roles that required resilience, strong people skills, especially influence and persuasion, and the ability to solve complex problems in an innovative way. I was often the youngest senior manager and the only female. I was having a whole lot of fun and kept pushing myself towards new challenges and adventures. Eventually, I decided that my need to work with challenging people and shift the existing leadership paradigm meant that working in a job, regardless of how senior it was no longer an option for me. Even though I was now in positions where I was able to define my role into what I wanted it to be, I decided that corporate life was just too constraining. So I left the familiar and decided to strike out on my own. I spent the first few months trying to decide what it was that I wanted to do and who I wanted to work with. It was then that I realised that my past experiences and history had led me to work with a particular type of person, that my ability to achieve in difficult circumstances and environments was because I was a certain type of person. Further thought led me to understand that I was describing mavericks, which I began defining as willfully independent people as early as 2005, and I particularly specialised in troublesome talent, the mavericks in your business. I really enjoyed the challenge of defining a type of people and establishing what mavericks are, what their backstory is, and delivering my message on a global basis. It was fun having my opinion sought by newspapers and magazines globally and speaking to audiences on my views of mavericks and leadership. This was in addition to designing innovative leadership programs for large companies and helping business owners build a reputation so they could sell more often. The truth to be told, I still enjoy these things. And it wasn't long before I set up the Maverick community, which was primarily an online club of 120 entrepreneurs who met virtually as well as in person. I started to hold Maverick lunches where Mavericks could meet and network with like-minded people. They were well attended and the lunches often lasted for 5 hours. Well, I did say it was for the willfully independent. The success of these lunches led me in March of 2008 to hold an exclusive black tie Maverick dinner in the private dining room of the elegant Le Pont de la Tour restaurant in London. Only 12 entrepreneurs were invited, some travelling from as far away as Devon to attend. By 2007, I was saying on the Maverick Community Club page, amongst other places, I define Mavericks as willfully independent people. That's right, willfully independent. Mavericks are talented, truthful to the point of bluntness, visionary, with an uncanny ability to exactly see the hole in the argument that is being presented to them and how to fix it. Mavericks break rules not out of spite, but because the rules don't work. They're highly goal-orientated, charismatic if they choose to be, and will question anything and everything. The common question posed by a maverick is why? Mavericks do not compromise the standards to fitting, and therefore cannot be managed conventionally. Despite the fact that they often do not utilise their talents effectively, Mavericks tend to be the top performers in companies and within business. Common traits of low boredom and impatience meant that Mavericks often have trouble articulating effectively what they want or what they mean. Eventually, my extensive literature on the subject of Mavericks caught the eye of at least 2 people who felt moved to either write academic papers inspired by my work and cite my work in their research. So the first is Curtis Tappenden, who's a renowned artist, performer, poet, writer and educator whose PhD thesis is called Explorations of Maverick Educators within the Institutional Art and Design Higher Education Context. I have enjoyed discussing his thesis with him over the years. He has some great ideas and an interesting research topic. I can't wait to read it. And there's Billy Calm from the Crazy Ones, who has cited my work in her research project for her master's degree. I am so pleased that my initial work on Mavericks has captured the imagination of many, leading to many people being challenged and inspired to live a more maverick, willfully independent life. I still stand by my above assessment of Mavericks, but readily assert that Mavericks are much more nuanced than I originally thought, way back in 2005. For example, I have now identified 2 personality types of Maverick, the extreme and socialised Maverick. They have different motivations and internal drivers. And I decided that after further study, reflection and research, I would succumb to the multiple requests that I've had over the years to write that book on Mavericks. So in 2017, my book, The Maverick Paradox, The Secret Power Behind Successful Leaders, was published. This book looks at Maverick attributes, mindset, Maverick keystone capabilities, strategies and utilisation of power. It is the blueprint for leadership success. The style is conversational, and for illustration the book uses mini case studies. It has some great reviews. Check it out. You can get it from Amazon. So what am I doing today to take the Maverick Paradox forward? Well, the website, maverickparadox.com, highlights some of the business applications of my Maverick work. And like many, I can also be found on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, where my handle is Maverick Mastery, for an up-to-the-minute contemporary look and feel. I continued the development of Mavericks and working with organisations to improve their leadership. Book 2 will be out in 2018. I'm currently embroiled in research. Following the realisation that Mavericks can only be truly mentored by other Mavericks, saw the launch of an exclusive, innovative, personalised, socialised Maverick one-to-one mentoring programme this year. It was designed by a Maverick for Mavericks and therefore is bespoke enough to completely suit the individual's unique needs. It is fun and the Mavericks are seeing some amazing results. If the idea of being mentored by a Maverick is something that interests you, then please contact me and let's have a chat. This year, 2017, also saw the start of this, the Maverick Paradox podcast, with the very next episode being out in a couple of weeks. Next year, we'll see the emergence of a new Maverick community, continued speaking events, and more publicised content from me. Well, I hope this whistle-stop tour of the evolution of the Maverick Paradox and how long I've been working with and defining mavericks has answered your questions. Thank you once again for tuning into the Maverick Paradox podcast. I hope you have enjoyed listening to the evolution of the Maverick Paradox. If you would like to learn more about mavericks and leadership, then please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or one of the other popular podcast platforms. Find out how willful independence can ultimately change all our futures. The next time I will be with an interesting guest ready to explore the mysteries of leadership. Thanks again, and see you soon.